if you are thinking of doing it, just do it. You know, I've come to know that it's better to start something and to fail, because actually failing is where the learning happens. The quicker you do something and fail at it, like I've been stagnant in so many areas because I'm trying to be perfect and I'm in fear of failure. And you realize that the quicker you do it and get it out there, it's not going to be perfect at first, but you just have to keep going.
Hi, this is Max from Black Income Creators, and today I'm with Sashe Amari Smith. Hi, Sashe.
Hi, Max. How are you?
We're here today to talk about your business and your journey, really, not just your business. Tell the audience what you do.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I haven't done a virtual podcast, so I guess something ticked on the bucket list. But hi, everyone. My name is Sashe, and I am the founder and CEO of Sashe Amari, which is a hair brand born here in London. The business initially started off as knotless braid services. Since then, the business has grown. We now sell products. I have my own human hair collection, which we service the customers both in the UK and worldwide. And more recently, the Sashe Amari Academy, where I'm teaching braiders not just how to master knotless braids, but to also build a business around their skill that's going to allow them to sustain a profitable business even after they leave the braiding chair. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay, so how were you in nursing before you sort of made the switch?
Yeah, so how I started with nursing, I guess it's one of those things where, so I've always been quite good with my hand. And so braiding is something I've always done as a child. I've just always enjoyed doing it. And, you know, you go through school and you go to sixth form, your parents instill in you've got to go to school and university and get a degree and get a career. And so nursing really came about when I was in sixth form and choosing my subjects. And I thought, well, if I'm going to get a degree, it would be in health and social care. And so it was between nursing nursing and social work. Decided to go with nursing. And so in my first year of nursing, I said, well, I won't be able to get a job because this degree is going to be so strenuous. And so, I mean, I was encouraged by friends and family as well. And I was like, let me just, start braiding on the side just to get some extra cash. And so I made my Instagram account. Back then I was known as Hair by Sashe. Started off with friends and family. And I just enjoyed braiding. It was just, charging chicken change and just posting on social media. By the time I got to second year, my nursing degree, the demand for my work just grew. Suddenly strangers were inquiring, right? And so, I literally just continued doing it on the side. And by the time I got to third year, the business was kind of, without me intentionally doing it, was kind of standing on its own feet. And
How were you sort of, I suppose, fitting it in around the studies? Was it kind of like, okay, I'll do it on weekends and evenings, or
Yeah, literally it was. So in my first and second year, the only time I was really clinical was on my placements. So that was probably twice a year, where I would have to focus on obviously doing those 12-hour shifts. But, university days, I would work take clients in between then on the weekends. It was just doing it whenever I was free, to be honest.
Okay then. And then at what point, where was the point where you were like, okay, I'm going to leave nursing and do this full time?
Oh, so like I said, by the time I'd got to second year nursing, the money I was already bringing in from my side hustle was already, more than what a nursing salary was. And, not only were people online inquiring, I started getting inquiries from like celebrities and stuff like that. And the demand was just so insane. And I remember when in my final year, in my final placement, I then continued on that ward when I qualified. And, all the nurses and my mentors will be like, I'm giving you 1 year. Like, why are you here? You have, because they would see my Instagram, they would see how it was just growing organically and how it was just, it looks like it was doing well. And they were like, I'm going to give you time. You're not going to stay here for long. So it really was at the point where I could see the potential of the business. And it was either I continued juggling both, absolutely loved nursing, and I love doing hair. The two actually balance itself, because doing hair took me away from nursing. So it was really good. But then it got to a point where I thought, well, okay, I can continue juggling both, or I can invest all of my time, building something that's mine. Do you know what I mean? And I guess at the time I just thought, I could continue being an employee where I loved my job, but I know the type of life that I want to have. And your income is capped. And, if I had my own business, although I wouldn't necessarily be able to guarantee that steady flow of income every month, your earning potential is unlimited. So I was ready to make the transition.
And I think the other thing is, like, with nursing or any sort of healthcare, you're dealing with people who are not always at their best. So whilst it's rewarding, and a lot of it can lead to burnout, not, intentionally, but it's just a very, it's quite a demanding role. Not that hair isn't, but it's like a different demand. People have come to you because they want their hair done. It's a little bit different to...
Do you know what's crazy though? I feel like the reason why I got into nursing is because I had that natural caring nature. And you would be so surprised. And lots of the skills and values that I learned and developed as a nurse, I was able to transfer them. Like, you do get people who obviously want their hair, but you find that a lot of the times clients could be at their lowest and they just need their hair done, and you're having those intimate conversations, and it's still that holistic care. So it's more than just doing your hair. I don't know if you've ever gone to the hairdresser. You're giving people therapy, you're receiving it's so similar yet so different. And I find, so I'm actually still I'm still caring for people. I am. It's just in a different setting.
And I guess the other thing is that especially black hair salons, they've got the reputation of lacking customer service. So having come from that care background, it's kind of like you've got that ability, like you say, of like talking to people in a certain way, etc. Because I know, looking for a black hairdresser back in the 80s and 90s, it was a struggle. It was like going to a Caribbean takeaway. You were not treated with the customer service.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And, I've never worked in a salon setting. I've never rented a chair. I've always worked from my home. And I do mobile services. So I never even, aside from when I went and got my hair done as a child, which wasn't frequent for me going to the hairdressers. But yeah, so for me, it was always my own space, just me. I'm able to nurture the environment that I want to work in. But
and what's your setup now then? So like you say, you do mobile, but do you have like a salon in your house or...
Yeah, so I have a studio in my home. And a lot of my clients, they come, absolutely love it. I'm like, I don't want to get a space, but every time I'm like, oh, I should maybe find another spot that's bigger or whatever. They're like, no, this is perfect. I absolutely love it. And now more, I mainly go to a lot of my clients because people want the convenience of you traveling to them. Yeah.
And how long typically does it take from beginning to end? Because I suppose that's one thing that might sort of put people off in terms of like, oh, it just looks like you're going to be in the chair. Because that's the thing, if you go into a salon, they're doing 5 people's hair at the same time. So it takes forever.
Yeah, no, it does. And it depends on what you want, honestly. If you want like a large install, you could be out in 4 hours. Majority of my clients go for small boho knotless braids, which can take anywhere between 12 and 14, 15 hours. It is a long time. Sometimes I have my second braider, but majority of the time it's me. And the first I would say 10 hours goes by so quickly, but it is definitely a long process, but it's so enjoyable. And I have my clients who come and they're like, Sashe, I'm so sorry. I absolutely love the outcome. I love spending my time with you, but I again. And then I look at my booking site. They don't even inquire. They've booked again. It's like an addiction. So it's one of those things.
It's like giving birth. Women are like, never again, and then you're like, you've got 4 children.
It's one of those things. It really, really is. It really is.
Oh, wow, that's cute.
It really is.
But I mean, I suppose then it's kind of like you went from having this, like you say, helping friends and families, and then it becomes a business. And then now you say you've got like the academy and sort of like the product. So you've gone from service to product to sort of like teaching. What's that journey been like?
Oh, wow. So maybe if I give you a little bit of a backstory. So like I said, when the business initially started, it was just services. And actually the first product that I bought on some years ago was my custom mix braiding hair. Sorry, I've even got them because I've got some orders to take out. So these are my custom braiding blends I actually hand mix myself. And how that first product came about was, like I said, I've always been someone that's been quite creative, and I done art in secondary school in sixth form. And clients would come for just normal black braids, and I'd be like, can I try color? And they just always trusted me. And before you know it, I started doing color mix in stores, started posting them online. In fact, that's kind of what I first ever went viral for. People just saw these color mixes and they're like, I've never seen that before. And people, not just in the UK, but abroad, wanted them. And so that's how I started hand blending the mixes. I went to the hair shop, bought the different colors, mixed them, put them online, and then they started selling. And then from then, it was just people inquiring. So in terms of the courses, a lot of braiders saw my work. They asked, how's your parting so neat? How's your work so consistent? And they were like, do you offer mentoring? Do you do one-to-ones? Do you do classes? And it wasn't only braiders in the UK, it was braiders abroad as well. And then I guess the more I educated myself on, making your business more, what's the word? Is it more efficient? So straight away, what came to mind was, okay, online courses. I can not only reach people in the UK, but people abroad. So that's how the courses came about. See?
Yeah. So then in terms of the reaching people abroad, where's your biggest markets outside of the UK? American?
You said it. I don't know what's in the water in the US. I don't know in another life, I definitely lived there. The US.
Yeah. And where are you finding it mostly? Is it sort of like the South, kind of Atlanta, Houston, or are you finding it more on the West Coast?
Oh my gosh. My geography is terrible. So I see Texas, I see New York, I see everywhere. There isn't a I'd say a prominent area. Yeah, that's probably something I could look into to see where, but generally it's all different states.
So would you say at the moment you're more in the kind of like brand category? So it's kind of like the product brand is like a bigger part than the actual braiding that you started with, as it were?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, now I probably do 6 or 7 clients for the month. Yeah. I've set my goal by the end of the year, and I'm sort of just doing it for the sake of it. It's the completely transition, I guess, into a brand, a business that's able to operate without it solely relying on me. I want to start having children soon, and I can't, do you know what I mean? So that's definitely the direction that I'm headed in. So trying to automate as many things in my business as possible.
Yeah. And do you have support, or are you still sort of very much a one-woman band at the moment?
I am actually a one-woman band. I'm a one-woman band, but I'm glad that I've been able to implement the systems in my business that have sort of allowed me to continue to stay on top of things, if that makes sense. Eventually, I will need a team because, I listen to so many successful business people, and, one person can't build an empire. You need a team. So that would be the next step.
Yeah, I guess in terms of like succession planning and, like you say, being able to, you can automate a lot, but then there'll be people that would need to do your marketing or etc. so that it can continue and be
For
sustained,
sure. Yeah.
etc. Yeah. So in terms of doing that, do you think you'd be looking to do that UK based or, overseas? Because a lot of
In
people do
terms,
it overseas. Yeah, in terms of kind of like
in
growing
terms
the
of your
business.
team, do you mean in terms of like building a team, in terms of bringing people on? I mean, I think initially, I think if I was to click my fingers and have another member of the team, I think it would be a full-time content creator, someone who literally follows me around, takes my content, because content is king. Literally, that's what my business is queen. Content is queen. That's literally what I've built my business off. So that would be like my first employee, a virtual assistant, or a full-time content creator. A virtual assistant could be someone that's not necessarily with me in the UK. I'm getting on.
It's difficult because I think that thing with content as well is that that's how your business actually launched, isn't it? So from your Instagram, it went beyond your family and friends and became, like you say, strangers. What do you think about your content attracted them? What was it that was sort of unique about your content back then?
I think from the very beginning, and I think from the very beginning it was the quality. And when I look back at my work now, I'm like, oh my gosh, Sashe, what were you doing? But I was always someone who I was very self-critical. I always wanted to be in anything that I do. I'm always that person who wants it to be perfect. And so I was continuously working on my technique. And I think what grabbed them initially was the quality of my work. And then I guess what turned them into repeat customers was my customer service and just, how I was as a person. And back then I didn't know what personal brand was, but I from the beginning, I was doing my own knotless braids and I was showing up doing tutorials, showing you how to style your braids. So I guess from then I was already building like a personal brand. So people sort of knew me and that built trust. So that I think that's what kind of built loyalty.
Mhm. And you talked a bit about the product being human hair. So tell me a little bit, because I know there's sort of a move away from like synthetic. I think there is. I think there's kind of like I don't know whether it's towards human hair, but there is something around sort of it being not healthier, but not having any kind of chemicals or anything in there being really critical for some people. I think in terms of environmentally friendly or something. I don't know.
Do you know what it is though? You see cigarette packs and it literally has the cancer sign and it's still being sold out. People are still consuming it. I was listening to a podcast. It was Diary of a CEO. I don't know if you know that podcast, but it actually, Steve, yeah. So he interviewed a toxicologist and the interview basically concluded with the deodorant that we use, the makeup that we use, the perfumes that we use, the soaps, everything has toxins. Everything has toxins in it. And, what can we do? A lot of these things isn't made with our health in mind, especially when it comes to even like hair products and stuff that we consume as colored people. A lot of them are not made by people who have our best interests at heart. And so, yeah, I've heard speculations. I don't know the facts and the figures or whatever it is. But in terms of the human hair, where the human hair came in, it's because of boho braids. So with the normal knotless braids, that was just synthetic hair. Then boho braids came about where you use human hair. So that's how I started selling the human hair. So it was before, I guess, I don't know if it's controversy or whatever it is, that was happening. But yeah, the human hair option is there.
And what's the difference between normal braids and boho?
So normal knotless braids is where let's do a demonstration. I don't want to mess my hair up there. The normal knotless braids is just a standard plait. So it's like single plaits. Boho braids is where you incorporate the human hair. So you add the human pieces at the end and in between. You kind of get that half weave, half braids type look. It's the new thing. So that's the difference between normal braids and boho braids. So what I have in now, you can see the loose pieces. This is boho braids. Yeah.
And is there someone sort of like celebrity wise who is known for boho braids that I'd be able to be like, oh yeah, that's it. That's what it looks like.
Um, where it started, where I first, I guess, heard about it is this celebrity. Her name is Zoe Kravitz. She first kind of had that boho braid style, but if you go on Instagram and if you go online, you type in boho braids, everyone has it. It's like the next best thing.
I'm surprised because Zoe has sort of mixed hair, so you wouldn't even think boho braids, would you? You'd just assume that she wouldn't need additional hair in her.
Well, this is the thing. Braids have become, I mean, it was always a staple hairstyle in the Black community, but it's become such a trend where, everyone is embracing the style. Yeah. It's one of those as well. You might assume it, you might think it's her hair, but it's actually, it's not. And I get the same with mine. People think it's my hair when it's all out because it actually is quite natural looking.
I guess there was a time when weaves were really in, like in the 90s, and it was always like, I don't know if it's her hair or not. You could never tell. And like wigs were so good, you were kind of like, I mean, I didn't even know Whitney Houston wore a wig until kind of 10 years in. I was like, I just thought it was her hair.
Exactly. And imagine now where we know so much more. Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's amazing. So, how did you go about getting like your first high-paying clients? Because, like you said, you went from friends and family to this is a business.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, just how I got all my other clients, it was just through social media. It really is. People will find me on social media, reach out to me, whether it's in the DMs, or on WhatsApp or email, and just took it from there. Yeah.
I think the fact that you were so flexible, like you would travel to them, that helped with the growth of the business, because some people are very much sort of salon based. So it's like you have to go to them. You don't really have a choice.
I mean, but I think if someone who worked in a salon, I think if they received an inquiry, whether it's from a celebrity or whatever client, and they said, look, I've seen your work. I want this service. Can you travel to me? I mean, I'm sure they're not going to say, no, I'm only salon based. I don't think so. I think a big part of business is being accessibility, right?
Yeah.
And it's what the customer wants. It's what they want.
I think it's the secret of businesses that grow well at the beginning. So I don't think a lot of people have that. They can be quite rigid in their approach to their business. So they're like, this is what I do. This is how I do it. It's very sort of in a box.
Do you know what though? I think when I went to business initially, I had no business knowledge. So a lot of the things that I know now is what I picked up from actually educating myself. So, when you hear things like, if you send a message and you don't get a response, send another message. I'm just checking to see if so there are a lot of business strategies that requires you being, persistent and consistent, because people do things, sometimes someone inquires and then they forget. I'm like, oh, were you still interested? Oh, yeah. So that's a part of business. It really is.
Yeah. And in terms of becoming a sort of like knotless braids expert, was that a sort of like very decisive decision? Like, you know what, I'm going to focus on one type of braids rather than being like a braidist for every type of braids?
Yeah. Well, like I said, it also, that just came down to me educating myself and my mindset just changing. So when I first started, when I went online, I saw everyone doing everything. And so what did I do? I done everything. At one point, I was someone, if you wanted braids, twists, locks, I was a jack of all trades and really a master of none. But back then, with the knowledge that I had, I thought you had to be able to do everything and put everything out there to get more clients, to get more bookings, until I learned that actually, if I want to build a certain type of business, if I want to be positioned in the industry a certain way, I had to specialize. You hear generally that specialists make the money, generalists don't. Yeah, so when you think about it, if you wanted to get knotless braids and there were two braiders on one page, you had braids, hair, twists, locks, 10 different styles, and then you saw someone who solely done knotless braids, who are you likely to, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's that thing of, specializing early in a journey, not trying to do everything for everybody, which a lot of people do. And then you're kind of like, I don't even know what they do. Like I've gone
Yeah,
on
that's
websites or Instagrams and I'm like, I'm not sure what it is that I'm actually
yeah, for
looking
sure.
for, etc. Whereas if they have two or three products, I'm like, okay, I know what they're doing, or
That's it. And do you know what? I think the logic behind it as well is you can't master everything. And, because I was doing one thing, I was doing the same thing over and over again. I can look at where I'm going wrong and actually work on my technique and become good that way. So it's not even because I didn't want to do everything. It just looks inconsistent when you can do one thing well, then you do something else and you want that consistency. And that's what people are looking for. So it was that's how I even got so good, because I wasn't as good in the beginning, but because I worked on the same thing.
Well, they do say you're 10,000 hours, and if you're not doing it in the one thing, you're just,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
and we've talked a little bit about sort of social media. Do you think that's been your biggest success, like success tool? Or is
Yeah,
it more word
100.
of mouth referrals? Because,
So, do you know what? I would say 95, 96% of my customers initially find me through social media. And, that's not just Instagram, that's TikTok, that's YouTube, it's Pinterest, it's across all the social media platforms, online. Yeah.
okay, which one is best, has been sort of, or has it been a thing of like, it depends on when you started as well and what content you put on each of them? Sort of like, so Pinterest, it works really well for like photos, etc. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I suppose Instagram, TikTok, videos. So do you find that videos work well just because of the sort of stuff that people want to see, like the journey? Do you show the sort of journey from,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it started off with Instagram. In fact, one of my very first paying clients came from Gumtree. Do you know Gumtree? So back then, I saw people putting braiding services and stuff on those platforms. And sorry, I'm lying. Not Gumtree. My services were on Gumtree, but Spock. Have you heard of Spock? So Spock is where you can sell physical things. So you can sell like clothes and shoes and stuff, but I put my services on Spock. So anywhere online where you could sell a service or anything, I was doing. So one of my first customers was from Spock, but I kind of had that mindset that, anywhere online where you could sell things. But yeah.
How did they even find you? Like, why were they on? I suppose they might have been looking for hair. I don't know. What were they looking for?
You know what? I don't even know. I don't know how. And in fact, it was a guy that found it. I don't know if he was looking for furniture or what, but I don't know.
What did he want done? Oh, because you were just doing
No, no, no.
hair.
He booked me for his partner.
Oh, really? Oh, that's nice.
So I put the pictures up of all the hair that I'd done, put a price, but it was £50, and I went to her to do it. This was way back. And yeah, so it just goes to show you, people looking in places. So you got to be everywhere.
I think that's key. We've got to be everywhere. But like you say, it's also the quality of the content. So
It's
yeah.
quality. It's quality. It really does start with quality. Like I speak to a lot of braiders who I coach and just give advice to, and a lot of them, want to know how to become better at social media. They want to hire like a social media manager, and they want but I honestly tell them, all I have is my iPhone and my ring light. The quality of your work, that's what people are looking for. You can have a big fancy salon. The thing that you're actually selling, if you start with that, everything else becomes so much easier.
Mm.
It really, really does.
And in terms of like offering the online courses, what inspired you? Was it just trying to reach more people? Reach the people kind of more easily? What was it that you sort of said, you know what, I need to make this into a business because it's not part of my business really?
Do you know what? It was, if I'm to be completely honest, it was for two things. The first, what initially started it was, of course, the inquiries. And like I said, the more I was educating myself on, you need to find a gap in the market. And people were inquiring, and I was thinking about, okay, I can do one-to-ones and in person, which would be possible for people in the UK, but people abroad, it wouldn't necessarily be. Or, when I learnt about, you know, terms like return on investment and leveraging your skill and your time, I can spend 6 months or a year and make this thing really good. And once I have it that one time, it can sell for the rest of my life. So I'm no longer having to continue trading my time for money. So I was also thinking in that sense, actually trying to build a business that's not reliant on me. And so that's kind of where I went into digital products. But it started with people inquiring and me actually realizing that there's a gap in this area.
So take us through like a typical day now then, because obviously you're only doing the 12 to 15 hour hairs 6 or 8 times a month, which is great.
I mean, you know what? Sometimes it's crazy, but I have a lot more free time now.
So take us through like a typical day then, sort of in terms of like, what do you look at first when you get up in terms of your business?
Okay, so I can take you through to what I've done today. It's really bad, but my phone is the first and last thing that I pick up and put down. And usually I'll wake up maybe around 6-7 o'clock, because a lot of my customers are abroad as well in the States. So I find that sometimes my hours are a bit weird. So I would be up by about 6 or 7. I'm on my phone and I'm either responding to comments, to messages. I'm getting my content ready to post for the day. Content is kind of the first thing that I focus on in the mornings. And then I might get up, I'll have some orders, I'll mix some bundles. If I haven't got any client, that is, I'll mix some bundles, go to the post office. And listening to podcasts, finding ways to continue to educate myself and grow my business.
Do you miss that kind of sort of like working in the hospital, working at, so do you miss that kind of camaraderie of having, working with other people? No?
Oh, okay. Oh, no, sorry. Working with other people. Yeah, I guess I do. But like I said, I see my clients, I engage with so many people online. It is virtual, but I still have that community. Yeah, but I wouldn't give up. I wouldn't give up working for myself to go back into that structured environment. No.
Yeah. And in terms of like sort of setting up the first course, how did you go about that? Because I think that's it's a lot of tools that you need just to put a course together typically. So how did you start?
Not necessarily. So it's so crazy. I'm a very good improviser. I've been very good at improvising. My first course, I literally filmed in my bedroom. I found a spot that my entire bedroom, I'm in my bedroom now, it's white. I found a white spot. I got my mannequin head. I screwed it onto the table. I videoed myself. I done voiceovers. I used iMovie to edit the videos. Yeah, so I really, honestly, it took a longer time, but I was able to do it on my own. I was doing a lot of research in terms of platforms and stuff. Yeah.
Which one did you go for in the end? Because there's kind of a lot of sort of...
There are a lot. Yeah, so I don't know if you've heard about School. School is a very good platform. That's why I ended up using. Absolutely love Alex Hamosi. So
there's something about him that is really attractive in a kind of like, he's arrogant, etc., but he deserves it way. You know what I mean? Like there's that thing of just like, I still like, like typically you maybe put you off somebody, but with him it's just like, yeah, you earned it.
A lot of the things that I've picked up on business, a lot of how I think and act and the things that I do in my business is because I've consumed him religiously. He's absolutely amazing. When it comes to pricing, when it comes to just everything, he is gold. And, I really had to go outside of the hair industry to find those mentors, because there was no one. But we don't realize how much information is out there, and it's free for the most part. We just need to access it. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Your favorite, would you say?
He's one of my favorites, 100%. I have his books. He's, gold. He's gold.
I think it's good to see people who have gone through it, failed, come back, and they talk about the failures as well. Because a lot of the time when you're hearing like, I bought the Porsche, I bought the Lamborghini, but you don't hear about the 6 businesses that failed beforehand, which, the lessons I get from Alex are particularly around
100%.
how gym launch was and what went wrong, what went right.
You see what I'm saying? And that's why I'm not afraid to take risks. So like I said, a lot of how I operate in my business is because not physically, but virtually, I'm in the rooms of those people. And I'm like, wow, I'm nowhere yet, literally. So yeah, it's very inspiring.
What risk have you taken where you were like, okay, not again, but I learned?
So last year, because like I said, I've been wanted to transition into education for a long time. And it took me a very long time to finally make the course. I was going back and forth. I was still not sure. And I made a very big investment in coaching. I spent, I think, nearly $5,000 in coaching. And for me, I learned about the importance of investing in yourself. And I knew what I wanted to get out of it. And was it a risk? I mean, that bulk of money, I would say it was a calculated risk. And I would say I didn't get what I needed to get out of the investment because of me, because I didn't put the work in that I needed to put in. So for me, it was like, I need to make sure that mentally, I kind of saw it and I knew what I want. I knew that person could deliver what I wanted, but I was doing so much so I couldn't completely focus on it. And so it was like, it wasn't a waste of money, but it was a big risk that I just jumped at without actually mentally preparing for it.
And how do you go about sort of like finding the right coach for you? Was it sort of like looking at other people who'd use that coach, or were you kind of more into like the industry, or what did you decide?
Well, how I found my coach, I saw she had transitioned into the education space, and essentially I saw what she was doing and I wanted to do what she was doing. So I knew she'd done it. She could tell me how she done it. So it's not that I was looking for someone to completely change my life or, make me go to, 50K a week or whatever. But I saw what she was doing and that's what I needed. But the time that it would take me to figure it out, I'm a strong believer that nothing is free. You pay with your time or you pay with money. And I'm so much for paying for something so that I don't have to spend as much time to get there. And so that's why I invested in it, because I knew she had the resources and could just give me because she had already done it. So I knew that what I was going to get essentially.
And do you have any kind of like peer-to-peer groups or anything like that you're in, or do you find it's kind of quite sort of you having to go out and find people, like you say, who mentors outside of the industry that have done it and, bring that knowledge back, and then you're the one that's providing that? Or are there quite a lot of people in the same sort of space as you?
I find that I had to do that. Now I'm seeing, so I've been speaking at quite a lot of events that's all about inclusivity and trying to, bring the hair industry together, which has been good. So I think more of that is happening now. But yeah, unfortunately, I really just had to go out there because there wasn't really, not in the UK either, And
do you think at any point you would ever think of moving to the US?
No, not necessarily, because like I said, my goal is for the business to be completely digitalized. So I can be anywhere in the world, really. So whether I'm actually over there, I don't know, for 3 months, delivering courses, training, but in terms of living there, then maybe.
What advice would you give entrepreneurs who want to sort of digitalize their businesses? Because I think it's, for some people, it might feel daunting.
I would say you will know when the time is right. I think a lot of the times we want to do things because it's what we want, and we want to put things out because we want it. But I think if you listen to your audience, build a community, listen to your audience and find out what they want, find out where there's a gap that can be filled. Because, when we listen to the Alex Hermoses and stuff, sometimes, you want to put something out, but is there a starving crowd? There's no one wants the thing. It might already be there. So I would say have a feel to see what's out there. Ask your audience, what do they want? Do some questionnaires, do some surveys, and go from there. And the mindset that I have now, and if I was to start my business, I would have done this so much sooner. I'm so much of the mindset that I'm trying to literally digitalize absolutely everything. So compact everything that I know into a course or into a product. Because again, it's that thing of investing in things that's going to give you a higher return on your investment. For example, with my color mix bundles, yes, I sell them at a premium price, but every time an order comes in, I have to use my man hours to mix those bundles. Why don't I put out a course on how to do color mixing? It's a skill that I've mastered. And that way you make the course once and you can sell that to it. So it's that mindset. So for me, and it took me a while to get there, especially with braiding, because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's my baby. I don't want to give away my secrets. But it's a different way of thinking. And that's when you actually start thinking like a business. It's trying to just package all of your knowledge into, especially if a digital product.
Yeah, I think with the digital products, there's also that thing of people can outsource little bits of it as well. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I don't have an iPhone, so my phone doesn't do, my Samsung is not the best when it comes to taking video, for example. But I could ask somebody to do that little bit for me, the editing,
Yeah,
etc.
100%.
I feel maybe people feel overwhelmed by the thought of like, I have to do all of it and put it all.
Forcing is such a big thing because you can't do everything. I'm so big on people say I'm just quick to throw money, but I'm so big on outsourcing, honestly, because like I said, my time is so valuable. So I really do my mindset on money, it's a tool and you can use it to just make your business more efficient and to just get to where you want to get to faster.
What do you do outside of the business? What are your kind of like hobbies and interests?
When they say when you have a business, it's literally I eat, breathe, sleep my business. It really is. It is bad. But it helps that because not only do I sell human hair and I do braids, I also love wearing braids myself. And so sometimes I enjoy taking content too, but I try to go on more holidays now. So I think holidays are my thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, holidays are my thing now. I've always been, because even whilst I was studying, I've always been someone that's just been so tunnel vision and not necessarily having that balance. So I definitely am. I am working on that.
And what is your demographic in terms of like, your customer and audience and community?
Well, yeah, predominantly women of color. Age-wise, so I think I probably serviced someone under 18 maybe twice or three times, and it would be like my clients' kids who I end up doing. But yeah, I'd say 20s up. Yeah, I'd say 20s up.
Okay, so sort of 20s up, working professionals, kind of.
Yeah, predominantly working professionals. Yeah, predominantly working professionals.
And where do you see your brand in 2 to 3 years?
I mean, I see myself launching fully into educating and inspiring not just the braiders to come, but the current braiders now. I feel like there's so much to learn for braiders in the industry, and I guess I've already kind of positioned myself to be a part of that movement. So more just education, really, and actually just building a business that's 100% sustainable without me having to be there.
So this is so that you can be married with kids.
I mean, not just married with kids. A book that I read called The E-Myth. I don't know if you've read that book. Oh my gosh, amazing book. And so yeah, it taught me that a lot of us we have a skill, and so we go into business and we think we have a business, but we've essentially bought a job. So a lot of us who call ourselves entrepreneurs and business owners, if we really knew what it meant, we would realize that actually we're not. So for me, it's actually building a business. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, when you have a business that's built around a personal brand, then it can be harder, I guess, in some ways, to sort of separate
separate yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
okay, no, that's at least you.
Figuring out as I go.
And I think that's it. So it's kind of like part of the journey. So yeah, you're right. A lot of people, they start off, let's say, in the coaching or counseling. So they start off doing one-to-ones, etc. And it's very much, and then they get to that point where, like you say, they might put out a course, and then they get to the point where they're like, I don't want to be in the business. I want to work on the business, but not be in the business all the time. So it's extracting yourself from something that is very much tied to a personal brand. And there's a couple of things in terms of, I think, we've talked a little bit about people that we follow and stuff, but what were some of the biggest mind shifts you had to make to move, I guess, away from being like a braidist to a business owner?
I think it's understanding what business is. When I understood what a business was and what it entailed, I realized that, yeah, I wasn't operating as a business. So I had to make that shift. And again, it's that whole concept of trading your time for money and needing to move away from that. Yeah.
And have you got any kind of like, do you have goals for yourself? Like, this is my monthly target. This is my annual, I need to do this within 2025 type of thing. Are you that kind of person? Are you driven by goals?
I try to be. I think what can happen sometimes is when you're not actually accountable to anyone is that you set the goals, and I set goals all the time, and I should be more strict with it, but I'm not. I should be more strict with it, but I'm not.
I think it's difficult because, like you say, you're doing. I mean, you've actually got sort of 3 or 4 businesses because you've got the service itself, which like you say, you've produced. Then you've got the product. Then you've got the digital content. Then you sort of, and then you've got the courses. I mean, there's quite a lot of businesses in one.
Yeah. Sometimes I do have to give myself grace and actually tap myself on the back. So I'm so hard on myself. And to be honest, I would have wanted to be so much further than where I am now. And if I was more strict with myself and more structured and set goals and stuff, then I would have been so much further. But life happens, and you just have to.
I mean, how many holidays would you have missed? So you've got to think about it from a vacation point of view. It's like, actually, you've got to live life and not just be. Yeah. Mexico wouldn't have been as much fun.
No, it's true. It's true. It's true. Have a balance.
Yeah, but no, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Have you got like one last thing? If someone was thinking about starting a business, or like trying to make their side hustle into a business, have you got kind of like one like last piece of advice?
If you are thinking of doing it, just do it. I've come to know that it's better to start something and to fail, because actually failing is where the learning happens. The quicker you do something and fail at it, like I've been stagnant in so many areas because I'm trying to be perfect and I'm in fear of failure. And you realize that the quicker you do it and get it out there, it's not going to be perfect at first, but you just have to keep going. So if you're thinking about doing it, do it. And in terms of turning a side hustle to a full-time business, honestly, you can continue to do your full-time thing. As they say, you do your 9 to 5 and you put the 5 to 9 in. There's really no time limit. Just do it. Honestly, just do it.
Perfect. Where how can people learn from you, work with you, or connect with your courses and content? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me all over social media. Sashe Amari. The name is SASHEAMARI. I'm on YouTube. I have segments on how to look after your boho braids, braiding and business. I'm on TikTok, all over. You can email me, guys. I'm so friendly. You can send me a DM on Instagram. My website is sasheamari.com, where you will see my products and my courses. Yeah.
Thank you, Sashe.
Oh, I really enjoyed this. I can't believe it's finished already.